Hey Ringside crew. Welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe, Panther III.
Hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I'm Joe Panther III, and man, tonight it's going to be an interesting episode. It's like it's been the whole end of February into March, but this one is going to be marvelous. It's going to be it's going to be a very classy affair because I have a gentleman that is, you could say, a fantastic, interesting person. Introduce yourself to my internationally known audience.
Yes, sir. I'm Mr. Marvelous, and you said international. Well, we're proving that because I'm straight from Niagara Falls, Canada. And if you want professionalism, if you want marvelous, I'm standing right here, and we're ready to talk.
Yes, always ready to talk. Always have the fun microphone and the set to prove it. So, Mr. Marvelous, so what is it like to be like a professional wrestler in the indies? That's in Canada. What is it like to go to a show for you?
There is never a dull moment. There's never a dull moment. It's you go into any show and you never know what you're going to run into. It's because it's the independents. It's like the Wild West in that anybody can show up. Anyone can not show up because that happens too. And you never know what hand you're going to get dealt. And you can think, you can have an advertised match and then, something happens, travel changes, people ghost, people no show, maybe people disagree with the booking. It's anything goes, and you never know what you're walking into, but it's all about, making the people that pay tickets happy. And sometimes there's a lot of them and sometimes there's not a lot of them, but you still got to go out there and do your job. Your job is to put smiles on faces, to steal a cliche, but it's definitely fun because you're always in a different scenario. You're always different location, and you never know what you're going to get. So it's fun for sure.
Awesome. So let's go way back. Like, who trained you to become a professional wrestler?
Yeah, so I like to say I started with a collegiate football career. So I played at McMaster University in Canada, which maybe the United States don't know, but it's a top ranking college in Canada, and we won a national championship. So wow. I'm an athletically inclined, and I always wanted to wrestle, but it was kind of like football it was a smaller window with football. So I was like, okay, well, I'll play football for as long as I can, and then I'll get into wrestling. And when football kind of wrapped up, I was like, okay, well, like, where am I going to go train? And at the time, it seemed like the only logical one was to go to Lance Storm's Storm Wrestling Academy. It was in Canada, which was nice. And Lance Storm is widely regarded as a very reputable source to learn from. So I packed up my car and I drove to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, like the mecca of pro wrestling in Canada. And I enrolled at the Storm Wrestling Academy. And that's where I started. My first steps in a ring was at Storm Wrestling Academy.
Awesome. What kind of advice did Lance Storm give you to like where your character is now?
Yeah, you know what? With what my character is now, character is an ongoing process, and I think it's all about finding yourself. I think what Lance taught me, and like Lance, can't put Lance over more as far as his mind for professional wrestling. Like I always say, he's a genius and then some. I think what Lance gave me was the fundamentals to figure out how to be an independent contractor, so to say, in professional wrestling. So it's he was definitely he was the foundation, I like to say, because he talked all about all the different things that you're going to run into and how to navigate all the pitfalls, how to handle all the successes. And I think the biggest thing, like there's a lot of times I even to this day, even though like I was there a number of years ago, I still think back to things that I can remember learning in his classes. And I think that's a testament to the quality of the teacher that he is. So it's not so much that he led me into becoming Mr. Marvelous, but I think it was like he gave me the foundation to find Mr. Marvelous, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that is true. I've had a female wrestler from the UK that I was actually trained by Al Snow. You know, your coach, Kiara. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's been trained by him too. Now her character's a heel, and it's like so funny because he's such a big heel. Like, did you ever think about like trying to see if he would do like a match against you, or is that like out of your frame, like what you would do?
You mean Lance?
Yeah.
I mean Lance. I don't think Lance has much of an interest in wrestling anymore. But I mean, I did wrestle him in training. Like he wrestles everybody in training, so I did get to experience that. It wasn't in front of a live crowd, but I think the saying, like, if you're wrestling someone tonight off, that would be Lance, because you wouldn't have to put together the match. You wouldn't have to think about, like, he would have all the ideas. He would know how to navigate the crowd. He would know how to, if you were trying to get any kind of business over in the match, he would know how to do it. And he won't hurt you, which is always important. So I would have loved to have wrestled Lance. It just, I don't know, it never really came up. And also he lives in Calgary, and so it never came up. But I think we would have had a banger for sure, because I think with the thing with the indie scene right now is that there's not a lot of like wrestlers. Like everybody calls themselves professional wrestlers, but nobody actually knows how to wrestle, if that makes sense. And like, Lance is definitely someone that he can go. Like I've seen him do it, and you can watch his matches back. You can see that he can go. And it's one of the things that, you know, me being Mr. Marvelous, I pride myself on. Like I can go. So like, if you want to try me, you can try me. So I think if me and Lance got in the ring and mixed it up, it would definitely be something worth paying money to see.
Awesome. So like, is there any other wrestler within Canada or in the US that you've been watching on, like, on the YouTubes or the Instagrams that you've been really wanting to work with, male or female? It doesn't matter.
It's I watch everything. Like I try to stay up to speed on what everything's going, either from the bottom levels to the top levels. I've grown a friendship with Tim Thatcher, and I've rolled with him a couple times. I never wrestled him on a show, but he's an excellent catch wrestler. And I think if I could get the chance to wrestle him on an actual show, I think we could really put on a really gritty kind of wrestling match. And that's more of my style. So I think if I could get in the ring with Tim Thatcher, I think he's in Japan right now, but that would be one that comes to mind for sure on the independent scene.
If you had a chance to go either out of Canada or stay in Canada, where else in Canada or within the US would you like to wrestle that you have never been to yet?
You know, I've been a lot of places, so I don't know if that's the question. I'd say for me personally, right now with where I'm at in my career, I really like to work under a full-time contract. And unfortunately, with what's going on with my status and being a foreigner to the United States, all the big major wrestling companies are in the United States. And in order for foreigners to work for those companies, they need a visa. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now, in that I need to get approval so I can get a visa so I can get hired by one of these companies. And I've had contact with, NWA, WWE, all probably the ones you've heard of. But that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. I can't really think of anywhere right now that I haven't been. Like, I've been through Europe. I've been to Japan. I've been to Western Canada. I haven't been to Eastern Canada. So maybe I could go there. But I've been through a couple places in the States, and I've been to a lot of places, maybe South America. I don't know. But I've been around a bit. I think it's more about finding a permanent place to call home.
So for you, the day of a show, what is it like that 24 hours before a show? What is it like for you?
So it usually depends on kind of what kind of travel you're dealing with, because usually, and this is part that like the fans maybe don't appreciate or know about, is that there could usually be about a 3-4 hour, 7-hour drive, 8-hour drive ahead of the show, right? And so you got to deal with that. But the nice thing with the drive is that you can usually have a carload of people that you're driving up with, so you can bounce ideas off each other, especially if you know kind of what you're walking into, if you know ahead of time what the promoter's looking out of you. But me personally, I don't eat before a show. That's just my thing. I've heard Cody Rhodes does that too, but I like to wrestle on an empty stomach. That's just my thing. I just feel better when I'm athletically pushing myself that I'm on an empty stomach. But usually I get there a little bit early. I get to the ring. I'll roll around a bit just by myself, kind of loosen up, do some stretches. I like to get a good warm up in, because the biggest thing with wrestling is that you can avoid injury. And if you're stretched out and warmed up, that mitigates that possibility. And as far as the actual match, I'm more of the, call it on the fly type, in that like I have no issues going out with a guy that I've never seen before, and just seeing what happens with the crowd and listening to the crowd. And if they're into something, we'll go in that direction. If they're not into something, we'll change it up. That's how I was trained, and that's how I prefer to perform.
Awesome. So, let's talk about, like, before we go, like, if you have any shows that my wrestling fans, they want to find you, like, to watch a show, like if they're in Canada and you have a show, like, where can they find it? Like, where can they find you?
Well, so depending on when this airs, I have a couple shows up in Sudbury, North Bay in the next couple weeks. And I also got a date for Bobby Fulton's World Class Big Time Wrestling, in that because, again, I'm a foreigner to the United States, so I'm attempting to get a visa to the United States, meaning that I'll be going to this promotion on a tryout basis. I have a date there that they're going to be evaluating me. So that's on March 9th. And I'm also in touch with some people to get some more tryouts for WrestleMania week in Philadelphia. And I've talked to Josh Barnett of Bloodsport, because I think with my style, I would definitely fit in that promotion very well. But I'm still waiting to get the confirmation on all that. But that's what I have going on in the immediate future. But we also got some cool things happening in the summer for sure.
Awesome. If my fans would like to follow you on social media, how can they find you?
So the best way is probably at Mr. Marvelous Insta on Instagram. And if you want to get me on Twitter, it's at Mr. Marvel Tweets. Just look up Mr. Marvelous. I'm sure you'll find me on something. And that's where I put all my latest updates. And that's where anything you want to know about me, you can DM me, and I will respond. Believe me.
If you have any merch, where can my fans find it?
Come to the shows. Come to the shows. Buy tickets. Come to see me.
Awesome.
I'll have it there. We'll be ready to go, and buy a ticket and watch.
Awesome. Best advice ever. If any of my fans, like younger fans that really want to get into the business, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would say think about what kind of what you would need to succeed at this. And I would think about, like, if you're going to pick a school, what kind of a trainer you're looking at. So it's what I'm saying is, like, there's a lot of times guys attempt to come in and they don't have the athletic foundation to start, so they got to build that. So, like, if you are serious and you want to start, then I would think about building that first and then getting into some kind of training program. But definitely I would look at which trainer you're going to pick to decide, like, who's going to teach you how to do this. Because there's a lot of schools out there, and a lot of them are run by guys that really haven't done much of anything. And like me personally, I have a gym, but my gym is just a place for people to train. And I train some people, but even then I tell them, I said, go to more reputable people. Like, there's a bunch of schools in Florida. There's some schools in Texas. I talked to a guy recently. He just got back from Seth Rollins' school in Iowa. I would tell everybody to go to Lance Storm's school in Calgary, but he doesn't run it anymore. But definitely you should be trained by a guy that has been to the highest level. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Ms. Marvel. Thank you. It's so awesome to have you on. Such an honor. I'm Joe Panther III. Your turn.
I'm Mr. Marvelous, and you're not.
And
which makes me better than you.
And we will catch you in the next one.